No, an online happy hour.
Oh,
Yeah.
online. Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, that's cool. How do you organize that? You just get on Slack and Zoom, video calls and just kind of drink together, or like
Yep.
how do you set it up? Yeah. Dividing your time between Cream and Doll's Kill, how's that going for you?
Pretty solid. I think the time difference is in my advantage. So they're based in San Francisco, and I'm currently in the Netherlands. So I do a lot of work at night as well, which is
Mm-hmm.
more in their time zone.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Do how do you like what does your schedule look like to working at night can sometimes be difficult because it can kind of disrupt your rhythms a little bit. Like, do you have a good schedule with gym time and all the, different things kind of balanced out?
well, currently gym time is a little bit less because it's quite busy. We're building a new house, so that's a project that I'm doing, as well as work, of course. So normally I would start at 9 a.m. with the stand up. And we introduced that one when we were going remote
Mm-hmm.
um, fully. So every
Mm-hmm.
morning, stand up. Everybody says what they've been doing the last day,
Mm-hmm.
um, any blockers they're having, and
Mm-hmm.
try to unblock the team.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then we got the startup with Dollskill at 7 for me, 7 p.m.
7 p.m. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a full day.
Yeah, that's definitely a full day.
Yeah. And you're building a house? You're like building a new home?
Yep.
Wow. That's awesome.
So we bought a piece of land like a year ago, and we're currently building our new house.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's just another like 2 or 3 months, and then we should be moving in there. So yeah,
Okay.
it's
That's really
really
cool.
cool to see everything that you imagined on paper now coming together, and they're building it. So
Right. Is because that's it's pretty common out here in Texas for people to get some land and build a house, which is new for me because I grew up in California and it's not very common there. Is it common in the Netherlands to do that?
um, well, they're doing a lot of new builds,
Mm-hmm.
but mostly those are row houses or apartments. So
Mm-hmm.
having a piece of land and building a detached house is definitely something that's not as common,
Mm-hmm.
especially as in the US, where like a lot of houses are
A lot of
detached.
land. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have to find a builder and everything like that, or you already found a
Yep.
builder. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's not that, well, you can take different routes. You can go to an architect and like they design everything from the ground up.
Mm.
But instead, we opted for yeah, it's not really like a model home, but kind of the basic concept is there, and you can build it out to your own specs, whatever you like.
Mm-hmm.
So you can
Mm-hmm.
change the width, the height, the dimensions of the home, as well as well everything outside as well as the inside as well. So
Mm-hmm. Tweak the
a lot of
padding, the
options.
margins.
Yeah, the stones, the grouts, like everything you can choose and pick.
My wife is obsessed with the grout recently, lately in our floor because it's been about 3 years and the grout is a little dirty. And I don't really even notice it at all, but it drives her insane. It's like all that she talks about lately. And she got some special cleaner that actually worked really well to clean it because we tried a bunch of different stuff and she finally found something that cleans it well. But it's a lot of work, I
Yeah, you
guess.
can seal it, right?
You can seal it, yeah. So she's thinking about we got to get it cleaned and then get it sealed. But I think sealant only lasts. It doesn't really. I don't think it lasts forever because when I was like sealing
Ah,
my
yeah,
patio,
you need to reapply it, or
like every year maybe or 2 years, something like that. Probably depends on how heavily you use it and stuff like that. But it's always one thing or another with the house, right?
for
when
sure, yeah.
yeah. Um, so what kind of Magento stuff have you been doing lately?
Well, obviously Magento 2.4 upgrades,
Yeah.
as well as venturing a little bit into headless, of course, and PWA.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, but um, I've seen quite a few projects fail with a headless architecture. So it's kind of interesting to see where Adobe is going with PWA and PWA Studio, as well as the new Hiva theme from Willem,
Mm-hmm.
which is also an interesting concept.
Mm-hmm.
So just today we had a little discussion internally with the team on which direction we need to go.
Nice. And so the projects that you've seen fail on headless, what does that look like? What have been the challenges that you've seen people run into?
Well, the first one that failed was like 2 years ago. Yeah, more than 2 years ago, almost 2.5 years ago. And
Mm-hmm.
Magento didn't have all the endpoints at that point, so there are a lot of customizations that need to be done there.
Mm-hmm.
The second one failed basically due to checkout not being up and running
Mm-hmm.
and compatible with PWA, etc.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Gotcha. And have you been what PWA frameworks have you been working with? PWA Studio mostly, or some of
Few
the other
storefront.
options?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And internally, we looked at PWA Studio to be as close as to the Magento core product as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and if you look at that product currently, there's like no inheritance of theming in place. It's just more
Mm-hmm.
like a building set.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a discussion about if it's feasible for agencies to build up on PWA Studio, because
Mm-hmm.
basically for every project you need to build your theme again instead of like inherent
Mm-hmm.
a basic theme and customize it onto the client's need.
Mm-hmm.
So you definitely see that Magento is moving more up market, especially with such a solution, where it kind of looks like there need to be a team in place for a single project in order to get that PWA studio up and running, instead
Mm-hmm.
of an agency which does multiple projects at a single time.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Yeah, there's a level of difficulty there. As far as the API endpoints go, is that getting better API coverage?
Yeah, for sure. I think the most vital ones are already there with 2.4. There are additional endpoints as well, so you see that they keep on adding them. Um, so that's definitely going in the right direction.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And the Hiva theme looks pretty interesting, right? A lot of people are pretty excited about that.
Yeah, because even if you run a PWA Studio application or a Vue Storefront application through Google PageSpeed, it's still not that great.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Definitely better than out of the box Magento Luma theme,
Mm-hmm.
but still like 50, 60 page speed score on mobile. Whereas the hybrid theme, at least the demos, looking really fast.
Mm-hmm.
Not only from
Mm-hmm.
a user perspective, but also within Google PageSpeed as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Are you doing a lot of development yourself these days, or more team leadership and architecture and stuff?
I try to do the development as well. I think it's like 50-50 currently, something around that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
That's a good split. Keep your hands in the code a little bit.
you want to keep up, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. And so what are some of the things that you're interested in working on lately? I mean, you mentioned some of the PWA projects failed and some 2.4 upgrades. What's some of the stuff you're doing that you're kind of the most excited about right now?
Um, well, moving Dolskill to Magento 2, that's an interesting project.
Hmm.
Um,
Nice. And what's you probably can't, I don't know, whatever level of detail you're able to get into. What are some of the components of that you're working on?
well, the data migration currently, and that's an
Okay.
interesting part because it's a store with around 500,000 SKUs in there.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of order data, a lot of sales data. So migrating data is an interesting part of the project, especially with the large amount of data that needs to be moved over from Magento 1 to Magento 2.
Right.
Um,
Right.
you're running into all kinds of legacy stuff as well, so
Right.
um, you need to cope with.
Right. And do you have like an ERP or a PIM in the middle of there?
Yeah, there's an ERP behind it,
Mm-hmm.
which is pushing data into Magento 1,
Mm-hmm.
and that data needs to be migrated over to Magento 2.
Right. Right. Nice, man. How's everything going for you guys? I think you mentioned starting to kind of work remotely and stuff like that. How's everything going during COVID and all the transitions that you're having to deal with?
Yeah, a lot of transition. So basically, I came back at the end of February from San Francisco, was back in the office here, and within 2 weeks, situation was deteriorating so much
Mm-hmm.
that our government said, well, if you can work remotely, you have to work remotely.
Mm-hmm.
And that was on a Thursday night. Um, so yeah, we decided to, well, we needed to work remotely from that point. So we decided to call in the team on the Friday morning. They had like an hour to come in, and we said, well, we don't know how long this will take.
Mm-hmm.
Take everything that you need with you. Make sure that you have a good workplace at home. Um, and then from Monday, next Monday, we were remote.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like 3/4 of the team didn't get into the office anymore up until now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. How's that been for you?
Um, Interesting because well, some parts were quite easy, right? Because there was first we were all in the office, and then we were just all remote. So
Mm-hmm.
everybody was in the same position
Mm-hmm.
instead of a team which is doing part in office, partly remote. I think that would be more difficult to do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I think we moved fast, and some people had bigger issues coping with the change than others, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, it
Yeah,
it's not too bad actually.
that's cool. Any particular tools or workflows that have been helpful for you guys to kind of stay on the same page and
Yeah, we were already using Slack internally, using Jira for support and tickets. We documented a lot in Confluence, so that's already there. What
mm-hmm.
we did is that we upgraded to the premium Slack channel in order to have the ability to call each other and share screens.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, that's about it.
Mm-hmm. That's cool. Yeah, I recently started playing around with Discord a little bit, and they have this cool voice feature where there's basically like voice channels that you can go into and just randomly talk with voice, and it's a neat way to just kind of communicate on the fly without even having to do video. It's just a little bit simpler. Um, so it's kind of cool. Have you used Discord much at all?
Not at all. So I need to look into that one.
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty cool. Um,
Yeah, one
and
thing that's
so,
interesting as
mhm,
well is to like keep your company culture. Um, that's a little bit harder to
mhm,
do. So we try to do um, every Friday evening the happy hour.
Mm-hmm.
where a few people come in and join. We did a pub quiz with the team, and now we're trying to come up with something around Christmas. So
That's cool. So like an in-person happy hour?
no, an online happy hour.
Oh,
Yeah.
online. Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, that's cool. How do you organize that? You just get on Slack and Zoom, video calls and just kind of drink together, or like
Yep.
how do you set it up? Yeah.
It's a little bit different though, because most of the time with a real happy hour, people can talk to each other, and here it's more like somebody is telling something and the rest is listening.
Yeah.
So I don't think the group can be too large, but with 4 or 5 or 6 people, it's definitely
It's pretty good. Yeah.
yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah,
That's cool.
you want
How
to
are you
stay in touch as well with everybody. So
Right, right. How are you like checking in on the team to make sure like people are doing okay, if there's any extra support they need, kind of trying to see how people on the team are doing.
like if they're doing the work correctly, or more like on a
Work or
mental
just yeah, like mental health, like mental health, like how they're doing, overall.
yeah, work related. You have to stand up every morning, where you review your work from yesterday and tell your upcoming day, and if you're blocked by anything. So
Mm-hmm.
that's pretty solid. Mental health, it right. We with the management team try to connect with everybody once in a while to
Mm-hmm.
make sure to have a little chit chat about how it's going, what they're feeling, and if they're mentally doing okay as well.
Mm-hmm. Check in on them regularly. That's cool.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Um, so Cream, your agency is Dutch e-commerce agency. And like what kind of makes you guys unique? Obviously Magento emphasis I'm sure you have, but what do you guys specialize in and focus on?
You're definitely a Magento agency, of course. We're currently with a team of 14, so mid-size agency. We're doing mid-size level projects for our customers, and I think we specialize in Magento, and we're really good at the work that we do and that we deliver on time and on budget.
Hmm.
Um,
It's always good. It's always important. What's your feeling on the Magento community right now? So you're on the board of the association, right?
Correct.
Um, how do you feel like how are things going with the association kind of in general right now? What are some things that, are top of mind for you?
So regarding the association, we're definitely not at the point where we would like to be at this time, or where we thought we would be at this time.
Hmm.
Um, we've struggled a little bit with funding. That's now in place. We're currently discussing the budget for 2021,
Hmm.
and some really interesting plans there, and interesting programs that hopefully we could share pretty soon with
Sounds
everybody
cool.
else. Yeah, so definitely progress there. Took some time, but we're getting there slowly.
Hmm.
Um, so that's yeah, definitely interesting to watch as well.
Okay. And so, like, one of the things I wonder about with the association is it mostly about organizing events? Is there going to be some management of the open source project? Like, I think the Drupal Association has some more involvement in managing the actual open source project, or is it sort of primarily events? Or
Yeah.
is that,
So
you know?
um, the association started, of course, with the Meet Magento Association. So that's kind of our roots. So
Mm-hmm.
events will definitely have a place there.
Mm-hmm.
But we are venturing into different items as well, and of course we're discussing how we can get involved with open source as well as a program.
Gotcha. TBD.
Yeah, yeah, for
To be
sure.
to be determined.
And that depends on Adobe as well. We really don't know what their goal is, or their bigger. their bigger aim is with Magento open source.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
so definitely something
Yeah.
that we need to watch.
Right. Are you contributing on GitHub these days pretty actively, or are you busy with other stuff?
I've been contributing a bit a couple of years back, and well, of course, you still look at the open issues, try to if you find a bug and edit it there as well. But I haven't actively resolved any issues. I think for the past couple of months. So
Okay. Yeah, got a lot going on. It's funny, I was scrolling through your Twitter feed going back like probably like 2 years or something, and I saw you were like, "Oh, this is great. I got like 8 PRs merged in like within 2 days or something like that."
yeah,
And
there's, if you look at the process around open source and submitting a pull request and making it having it merged, I think the level of entry is becoming higher as well.
mm,
Um, yeah,
why is
hopefully they
that?
would.
I'm curious. Yeah, I was curious to drill into that because I've seen some people kind of complain about like things not getting merged fast enough or whatever. What do you think that is that the kind of the barrier to entry for PRs is getting higher?
Well, one of the things they say, for instance, is you need to have test coverage in your PR.
Mm-hmm.
But Magento itself doesn't have like test coverage of every piece of code.
Okay.
Um, so they're just saying, well, write tests, and I think a lot of people don't have the time to write tests, or don't want to write tests, or they don't have the knowledge to write
Mm,
tests.
mm-hmm.
Um, and then those PRs will get stuck and will not move along, while the actual change might be beneficial for the whole community.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I think that's pretty reasonable though to ask for the test coverage. I mean, if you're in there writing some functionality, writing a bug fix for a specific piece of code, and I can't imagine it'd be too hard to cover that with some tests. Um, but I'm thinking about like a couple of posts I saw, and now I'm curious if that was the issue, if that was the reason why they didn't get merged because they didn't have the test coverage. So that's something I'll have to.
yeah, test coverage, or things are open for like months or years
Hmm.
before somebody pays attention to it.
Yeah, yeah, I've seen a couple of those. I've seen, I've seen some people pretty upset about that, you know.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, I guess maybe it really boils down to the test coverage. Um,
yeah, or the number of people working on that side of the project, right? You see the
hmm.
number of outstanding issues increase as well.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah,
so
it's
more backlog grooming, or closing out duplicates or something.
hmm. Right, right.
Yeah,
And how do you feel like the Magento community overall is doing? Just generally, like a lot of people are looking at different platforms. A lot of people are
yeah,
diversifying. Um, obviously, has affected events and our ability to get
yeah,
together. So, how do you kind of,
yeah. Kind of missing the in-person events,
yeah,
like connecting with everybody. So yeah, that definitely has an impact on the community, but that doesn't only have an impact on the Magento community, but on other platforms as well.
yeah,
Um, and you do see a lot of people diversifying to other platforms. Um, Here around the Netherlands, a couple of agencies have stopped doing Magento and went, for instance, to Shopware, or
mm-hmm,
doing Magento and Shopware, or Magento and Shopify, or um, well, we still stick to Magento because we think that one is it's a pretty good and decent platform to do e-commerce on, and secondly, we think that if you want to exceed customer expectations, you need to be really good at what you're doing.
mm-hmm,
So you want to be a perfectionist within Magento or another
mm-hmm,
platform.
mm-hmm.
But I don't think that we are the size of an agency that we could support multiple platforms.
Mm-hmm.
especially coming out of the Magento 1 to Magento 2 transition as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've been hearing more and more about Shopware. It seems like a pretty cool platform. Seems like I feel there's some parallels to the Magento trajectory, just as it's an
Yep.
open source platform. There's a lot of enthusiasm around it, you know.
Yeah, for sure. But the business model is a little bit different though, where Magento has their commerce edition, which is only feasible for large enterprise customers.
Mm-hmm.
Shopware has a model where you could buy a license for, I don't know, 1,000 or 1,500 euros.
Mm-hmm.
So the barrier to entry is way lower, and you can have a much larger customer base who's willing to pay for a particular feature or feature set. So their approach to that is a little bit different than Magento's approach.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting. When it comes to events, have you been enjoying any of the virtual events? It's hard to recreate kind of the magic of like an in-person event, but it's I know everybody's trying to do the virtual events and
Yeah.
um, as recreate as much as they can, you know.
So with the Magento Association, we did the Magento Connect event,
Hmm.
which was really well received. Um, I think with the we used a tool called Hopin.
Hmm.
Um, it almost felt like an in-person event, um, but still I don't know, you do not have the vibe going on, or like the after hours
Hmm.
discussions. Um, yeah, or the in between events or session discussions as well. So
Hmm. Yeah, I really liked at the Adobe. I think it was the Adobe Developer Live conference recently. I checked out the network feature, the
yeah,
networking feature in Hopin, and I really liked it. It was like a 5 minute. It randomly matches you up with somebody else for a 5 minute video chat, and it was really cool. I really liked it.
sort of kind of like dating,
Yeah,
speed dating.
a little bit like speed dating. I don't know. It made me feel like I was kind of at a conference. I don't know. I
Yeah.
can't quite explain it, but it's the
What's
closest thing.
interesting about that is that you're actually just meeting a random new guy, whereas in-person events, most of the time you're talking to people you already know, and they can introduce you
Right,
to other people.
right.
So this might be actually be better.
Yeah, the randomness.
Yeah,
Yeah, I had the same thought too. It almost forces you to meet new people,
yeah,
and it's cool how it's just for 5 minutes because it's not, if there's not much to talk about, then it's just over after 5 minutes. It gives you a feeling that, of like continual motion kind of a thing. Like if you're at a conference, you just walking around and, um, you always got somewhere else to go, for the next event.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you can just go away from that person
Yeah.
if needed.
Yeah. But I thought that was a great feature. Are there any events coming up in the near future that you guys are organizing?
Well, we're not organizers ourselves as Cream as an agency, but yeah, the Magento Association is talking about doing Connect events, virtual Connect events again.
Hmm.
Um, there was definitely a
Great.
lot of interest to those events, so we'll probably move forward with that.
Okay, that's cool. So this is kind of random, but I saw on your LinkedIn that you started a private equity firm, which I had no idea. Uh, I'm curious to learn a little bit more about that.
That's an interesting story. Yeah. Um, so one of our customers, we had the ability to participate in their venture,
Hmm.
um, and me and my business partner said, "All right, let's go and do that and take that participation in there in that
Hmm.
company." Because we think that we know how to sell stuff online, and we advise our customers on the best way to sell stuff online. But we can now actually participate in a company in doing so.
Mm-hmm. That's cool. So you do investing and stuff like that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and divesting as well. So
Okay.
yeah, we actually sold that participation at the beginning of 2020. So
Oh, okay. That's neat. That's neat. So you've dabbled a little bit in investing.
yeah, yeah.
That's cool. I think we were initially wanting to talk a little bit about preparing for the holiday seasons because we were going to do this podcast earlier and then some things came up. My
Yeah,
apologies.
no worries.
But so it's a
You had
little
better
bit
things on your mind. So
had some things come up, but it's a little late obviously for preparing for the holiday season right now. But was there anything top of mind for you when it comes to this holiday season?
well, what you see here in the Netherlands, at least, is that there are companies actively advertising to not do your holiday shopping last minute, but more like scatter it
Mm.
in a larger
Mm-hmm.
period of time, and be early, order early. Um, and that's something I see with the US market as well, especially with Dole Scale, um, doing a longer period of promotions instead of a one big burst. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so we're definitely expecting a lot of holiday shopping to be online,
Mm-hmm.
um, as some stores are closed or do not participate in Black Friday,
Mm-hmm.
um, and having a longer holiday period than normal as well.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. So like instead of the holiday rush where everybody's going to the stores and doing their shopping, just get it done a little earlier, get it done online. It makes me think actually of like voting here recently in the election, because there was a lot of a push to vote early. And then, like, for example, we were able to just go vote like a week beforehand. And we did it in person. But like you could just go in at any point leading up, several weeks leading up to it. And I was like, this is so much easier. Like, why did we all wait to the very day to do it when we could have just gone in a couple weeks earlier, and just like kind of
Yeah,
even out the
if they do the
curve.
deals for Black Friday during the whole week, everybody will shop for the whole week, right? It's not like a
Yeah.
single day.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So then are you just encouraging clients to kind of have their promotions available for a longer period of time during the holiday season, that kind of a thing?
Yeah, and as well as like from a technical perspective, with the increase of traffic, what are you expecting? When are you expecting it? And we can act accordingly at that point. So
Nice.
make sure that everything is skilled up and ready to go.
Right, right. Awesome. Well, hopefully you guys have a good, successful holiday season. Was there anything else you wanted to cover before we wrap up?
What else was on that on that list?
I think that was about it. I think that was about it
All
on the
right.
list. Yeah. Um, awesome. Well, where's the best place for people to find you online?
Um, Twitter, LinkedIn. If you have any questions, connect with me. I'm happy to answer them.
Okay. Awesome.